Mina sat by the window of her large, cold house, staring at the garden below. The flowers bloomed beautifully, but she could not feel their beauty. Her father's words from earlier still echoed in her ears, sharp and cruel. You have brought shame to this family. You are lazy, useless. I have no choice but to punish you. Mina's heart ached. She had tried her best, but her father only saw her weight, her quiet nature, and the mistakes she had made at the last family gathering. She felt trapped, like a bird in a cage too small to fly. No one in the house spoke kindly to her now. Her mother avoided eye contact, her siblings whispered and giggled behind her back, and even the servants seemed nervous around her, unsure if they were allowed to offer any comfort. Later that evening, her father summoned her to the grand living room. Mina walked in cautiously, her hands trembling. He was sitting in his favorite chair, his face stern, his eyes cold. Mina, he said, I have arranged your future. You are to be given to Ravi, the farmer from the village on the outskirts. He is poor, uneducated, and, well, it will teach you humility. Mina froze. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Father, you can't enough, he snapped. It is decided. You will leave tomorrow morning. Consider it punishment for your foolishness. Mina's heart sank. The idea of marrying a stranger, someone from a poor family, someone she had never even met, was terrifying. She imagined the small, simple house, the endless work in the fields, the hard life of a farmer. She wanted to run away, but she knew her father would have eyes everywhere. The walls of her golden cage suddenly felt even smaller. That night, Mina lay in her large bed, staring at the ceiling. The moonlight made the room glow faintly, but it did not comfort her. She thought of her friends, her books, her comfortable life. All of it was slipping away, replaced by a future she had never chosen. Her chest tightened, and tears rolled silently down her cheeks. The next morning, Mina packed a small bag. She chose only the essentials: her favorite dress, a few personal items, and a small notebook where she wrote her thoughts. She refused to pack the expensive jewelry her father might have wanted her to take. She did not need it. It would not make her life better here. The carriage arrived. Mina's heart raced as she stepped out, the cold morning air brushing against her face. Villagers on the road stared at her as the carriage passed. She could hear their whispers, some sympathetic, some cruel. Mina kept her eyes lowered. She did not want to see them, did not want to feel more shame. After hours on the bumpy road, the carriage finally stopped at the edge of a village. Mina stepped down slowly, her heart beating fast. Before her stood a modest house with fields stretching behind it. It was not ugly, but it was nothing like her home. A man approached her. He was tall, with broad shoulders and strong hands that showed he worked hard every day. His hair was dark and neatly combed, and his face was calm and kind. He was not the farmer she had imagined. There was no cruelty in his eyes, no impatience, only quiet respect. "Welcome," he said gently. "I am Ravi. You must be Mina." Mina blinked, unsure how to respond. Yes. I am Mina," she said softly. Ravi offered a small smile. "Please, come inside. You must be tired after the journey." Mina followed him silently. The house was small but neat. The air smelled of fresh bread and the soil from the fields. For a moment, Mina felt a tiny spark of relief. Ravi seemed gentle, different from the harsh world she had just left. Over the next few hours, Mina explored the small house. There was a kitchen, a living area, and a few simple rooms. She had expected cold walls, empty cupboards, or a harsh welcome, but everything was clean and cared for. Ravi showed her the fields, the animals, and the tools they used for farming. Mina tried to hide her surprise. This was not what she had imagined a poor farmer's life to be. Still, she could not shake her fear. This life was unfamiliar, harsh in ways she had never faced before. She had never worked in the sun, never lifted heavy tools, never cared for animals in this way. She felt clumsy and unfit, and a quiet voice in her head whispered that she would fail. Seeing her hesitation, Ravi spoke softly, "Do not worry, Mina. You do not need to do everything perfectly. I will teach you. We will work together." Mina looked up at him. His calm words, his gentle eyes, and his quiet strength were unlike anything she had experienced. For the first time in many days, she felt something she had almost forgotten: hope. Yet, beneath that hope, fear remained. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, and fear of the unknown. Mina wondered if she could survive this life, if she could ever be accepted, and if her heart could find peace in a world so different from her own. And as she stood there, looking at the fields stretching toward the horizon, Mina realized one thing: her life had changed forever. Mina woke early the next morning. The sun had barely risen, and soft golden light filled the small room she now called her own. She rubbed her eyes, still feeling the weight of the previous day's journey. Every part of her body ached: her legs from the long ride, her arms from holding her bag, and her back from sleeping on the firm mattress. She sighed, thinking of her old life, of the soft cushions and warm breakfast tables she would no longer see. A knock at the door startled her. Ravi's calm voice followed, "Mina, breakfast is ready. Please come." Mina quickly straightened herself and followed him into the small kitchen. Steam rose from a pot on the stove, and the smell of fresh bread mixed with herbs filled the air. She had expected a plain, cold meal, but Ravi had prepared something simple yet comforting. "Sit here," Ravi said, gesturing to a small wooden table. Mina noticed how clean and organized everything was. Despite being a farmer, Ravi treated his home with care and respect. As she ate quietly, Ravi spoke gently. "I know this is all new for you. Do not worry about anything. We will take one step at a time." Mina nodded, though her stomach twisted with nervousness. She knew that life here would be very different. The work would be hard. The sun would be hot. And she was not sure if she had the strength or skill for it. But Ravi's words gave her a small sense of calm. He was kind, and that was more than she had expected. After breakfast, Ravi led Mina to the fields. Rows of vegetables and grains stretched far into the distance. Chickens clucked near the barn, and a few cows grazed peacefully. Ravi handed Mina a small basket. "Today, we will start with picking vegetables. It is simple, but it is important work." Mina nodded nervously. She had never done farm work in her life. Her hands felt soft, untrained, and she worried she would be clumsy. The first few minutes were awkward. She fumbled with the vegetables, dropping a few and feeling embarrassed. Ravi knelt beside her. "Take your time," he said with a smile. "You will learn quickly. Do not rush or worry about mistakes." Mina felt her cheeks warm. No one had ever spoken to her this way before. At home, mistakes were punished with harsh words or angry stares. Here, Ravi treated them like lessons. She felt a strange mix of relief and surprise. As the morning passed, Mina slowly began to get the hang of it. She learned how to hold the basket correctly, how to pick the vegetables without damaging the plants, and even how to move quietly so the chickens would not scatter. Ravi guided her with patience, never raising his voice or showing frustration. By midday, Mina was tired. Her arms and back ached in ways she was not used to, and her stomach growled despite the breakfast she had eaten. Ravi noticed and said, "Rest a little. Then we will continue." "You are doing well, Mina." Mina sat under the shade of a large tree, breathing heavily. She looked at the fields stretching toward the horizon. They were endless, full of life and work. She realized that this was a world very different from the one she had known. And yet, There was something beautiful about it, the quiet rhythm of the farm, the honest work, the clear sky above her. As she rested, Ravi walked over and handed her a cup of water. "Drink slowly," he said. "You must keep your strength." Mina took the cup with trembling hands and drank. Ravi's eyes were calm, steady, and kind. She wondered why someone with so little in appearance had so much patience and dignity. There was no pride or arrogance in him, only quiet strength. Over the next few days, Mina began to adjust to farm life. She woke early with the sun, helped feed the animals, and worked in the fields. Every day was hard, but she noticed small changes in herself. Her arms grew stronger. Her legs moved with more confidence. And she felt a growing sense of accomplishment when she completed a task successfully. But it was not just the physical work that changed her. It was Ravi's quiet presence, his patient guidance, and the way he treated her with respect. She had expected harsh words, teasing, or ridicule. Instead, she found kindness, understanding, and calm encouragement. It confused her feelings: fear, frustration, and sadness mixed with curiosity, admiration, and even a small spark of hope. One evening, after the work was done, Mina sat outside and watched the sun dip below the horizon. The sky turned shades of orange and pink. She realized that the farm, which had seemed like a punishment at first, was becoming a place where she could learn, grow, and maybe even find happiness. Ravi joined her, carrying a small lantern. "The day is done," he said simply. "You did well today. I am proud of your effort." Mina looked at him and felt a strange warmth in her chest. "Thank you," she whispered. I I didn't expect this. I thought this would be terrible." Ravi smiled gently. "Life is what we make of it, Mina. Sometimes, what seems like punishment can become a chance to find something better." Mina thought about his words as the stars began to appear in the night sky. For the first time in many days, she allowed herself to imagine a future here, a future where she could grow stronger, learn new things, and maybe even be happy. Her heart still carried fear and doubt, but a tiny spark of hope had been lit. And that spark would guide her through the days to come. The days on the farm grew longer for Mina. The sun rose early and set late, painting the fields in shades of gold and orange. Every morning, she woke with the sound of roosters crowing and birds singing. Her body ached in ways she had never experienced before, and she often went to bed exhausted. Mina's hands, soft and untrained, grew rough and calloused. Her arms burned from lifting baskets, and her legs ached from walking across uneven ground. At first, Mina felt frustrated. She had expected the work to be simple, even easy, but every task demanded patience, strength, and skill. Picking vegetables without crushing them was harder than it looked. Feeding the animals required precision and care. The water from the well was heavy, and carrying it to the house made her arms tremble. One morning, Mina tried to herd the chickens into their coop. She moved too quickly, and they scattered in all directions. She tripped over a stone, landing with a thud on the ground. Tears sprang to her eyes, not just from pain but from frustration. She felt clumsy and hopeless. Ravi came quickly, helping her to her feet. "It is okay, Mina," he said calmly. "Do not be upset. Every mistake teaches something. You will get better with practice." Mina wiped her tears and nodded, feeling embarrassed but grateful. Ravi's patience was unlike anything she had known. Back at her family's home, mistakes had been met with anger, criticism, or scorn. Here, mistakes were lessons, not punishments. Days turned into weeks, and Mina slowly began to adapt. She learned to wake early and embrace the routine of the farm. She discovered the joy of planting seeds and watching them grow. She took pride in harvesting vegetables and feeding the animals. Each small accomplishment made her feel stronger, not just physically but inside. Yet the hardest part was not the work itself. It was the fear and doubt that lingered in her mind. Mina worried that she would never truly belong here, that she was too weak, too slow, too different. She compared herself to the villagers, imagining their judgmental eyes and whispers. She worried that she would never be respected or valued. Ravi noticed her hesitations. One evening, as they rested under the shade of a large tree after a long day of work, he spoke gently. Mina, I see your worry. You fear you are not enough. But strength is not only in the body. It is in the heart, in patience, in trying despite fear. You have all of that. Mina looked at him, unsure how to respond. His words felt like a warm light in the cold shadow of her doubts. For the first time, she realized that she did not have to be perfect. She only had to try. As the days passed, Mina began to notice small changes in herself. She could carry heavier baskets without stumbling. Her hands were stronger, able to handle the tools and animals with ease. She learned the names of the vegetables, the habits of the animals, and the rhythm of farm life. Every new skill she mastered gave her confidence. But the biggest change was in her heart. Mina started to admire Ravi not just for his strength and skill but for his kindness, patience, and humility. He never boasted about himself or the farm. He never tried to make her feel small. His life was simple, yet full of purpose, and she began to understand the value of that simplicity. One afternoon, as they worked side by side in the fields, Ravi glanced at Mina. You are improving quickly, he said with a small smile. You are stronger than you think. Mina blushed but felt a small spark of pride. I think I am learning, she admitted quietly. You are, Ravi said gently. And it is okay if it takes time. There is no rush. That evening, Mina sat on the steps of the small house, watching the sun sink behind the hills. She thought about her life before, about the golden rooms and endless comfort she had once known. And she realized something surprising, even though life on the farm was hard, it felt honest. Each day brought challenges, but also accomplishments. Each task completed, no matter how small, gave her a sense of purpose she had never felt before. For the first time, Mina felt a quiet pride not in her appearance, not in her wealth, but in her effort, her growth, and her ability to face difficulties. She had learned that life was not about avoiding work or pain, but about facing them with courage and patience. As the stars appeared in the night sky, Mina felt a tiny spark of hope. She still worried, still felt fear and uncertainty, but she also felt strength, resilience, and a sense of belonging. She realized that she was not alone. Ravi was there, guiding her, supporting her, and showing her that kindness and patience could be more powerful than wealth or status. Mina's heart swelled with a quiet gratitude. For the first time, she began to believe that life could be better than she had imagined. And she knew that, with time, she would not only survive on the farm, she would grow, learn, and perhaps even find happiness in ways she had never known before. The morning sun shone brightly over the farm, casting golden light across the fields. Mina had grown accustomed to the early hours and the smell of fresh earth, but today she felt restless. A strange curiosity had taken root in her heart. She wanted to know more about Ravi, the quiet farmer who had taught her patience and guided her with kindness. After breakfast, Ravi asked Mina to help him organize a small storage room behind the house. She moved carefully among crates and sacks, her hands brushing against burlap and wood. While arranging the items, Mina noticed a small, locked cabinet tucked into the corner. It looked old and sturdy, unlike anything else in the modest room. Ravi, what is in there? Mina asked, curiosity tinged with hesitation. Ravi paused and smiled faintly. It is nothing important, he said gently. Just some old documents and tools. You do not need to worry about it? Mina nodded, but the curiosity in her chest would not go away. Later that day, when Ravi went to check the fields, Mina found herself wandering back to the cabinet. She hesitated, feeling a mix of guilt and intrigue. Slowly, she opened it and what she saw stunned her. Inside were papers, certificates, and folders filled with numbers and documents. Mina's eyes widened as she flipped through them. She discovered that Ravi owned more than she could have imagined: farms in distant villages, a chain of small businesses, and even properties in the nearby town. Hidden behind his humble life was wealth that rivaled her own family's fortune. Mina felt her heart race. She could hardly believe it. All this time, she had assumed Ravi was poor, living a life of struggle and simplicity. And yet, he had chosen to hide his wealth, living modestly and focusing on the farm, the animals, and his land. She heard Ravi's footsteps behind her and quickly closed the cabinet, trying to hide her shock. "You found it," he said softly, as if he had expected her curiosity. Mina turned to face him, her eyes wide. "Ravi, all this, you own so much," she stammered. Ravi nodded. "Yes, Mina. But I do not measure my life by wealth. I live this way because it is honest, because it brings me peace. Money does not make a person happy, it only complicates life." Mina felt a mix of emotions: astonishment, admiration, and a small surge of anger toward her own family. Her father had judged Ravi as poor and unworthy, not knowing the truth. And she had almost believed it herself. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked quietly. "Because it does not matter," Ravi said calmly. "Who I am and what I choose to do with my life is my choice. It is not meant to impress anyone, nor is it meant to shame anyone." Mina took a deep breath, feeling both humbled and inspired. Here was a man who had everything but chose to live simply, honestly, and with purpose. And she had been sent here as punishment, expecting hardship and cruelty, only to find kindness, patience, and dignity. The discovery changed something inside Mina. She began to see Ravi in a new light, not just as a teacher or a guide, but as a person of quiet strength and wisdom. She realized that the farm, the work, and the simple life were not limitations, they were choices, made with care and thoughtfulness. Later that evening, Mina and Ravi sat together by the small fire outside the house. The sky was painted in deep shades of purple and orange, and a cool breeze whispered through the trees. Mina felt a strange mix of emotions: admiration, curiosity, and a small sense of hope she had not felt in years. "Ravi," she began hesitantly, I never expected this. I thought life here would be hard and lonely. I thought I would fail." "You might have felt that at first," Ravi said gently, "but every challenge is an opportunity. You are learning, growing, and discovering your own strength. That is more important than anything else." Mina nodded, feeling warmth spread in her chest. She realized that life on the farm was not a punishment at all. It was a chance to start over, to grow stronger, to find herself beyond the expectations of her family or society. As the stars began to appear in the night sky, Mina thought about her father and the cruel words he had spoken. She felt a quiet anger, yes, but also clarity. She understood that her worth was not determined by others, nor by appearances or mistakes. Her worth was in her heart, her efforts, and the choices she made. For the first time, Mina felt a sense of freedom: not the freedom of wealth or luxury, but the freedom to be herself, to work, to learn, and to grow. Ravi's secret had revealed more than just his wealth, it had revealed a truth about life that Mina had never understood. And as she looked at Ravi, sitting calmly beside the fire, Mina realized that she was beginning to trust him not only as a guide but as someone she could rely on, someone whose life and choices she could admire, and perhaps, someone whose company she might even cherish. In that quiet, simple moment, Mina understood that her journey on the farm was only just beginning and that it held more lessons, more discoveries, and more moments of growth than she could have imagined. Days turned into weeks, and Mina began to feel more comfortable on the farm. The sun rose early each morning, but she no longer dreaded the hard work. She had grown stronger, more confident, and more capable of handling the tasks that had once seemed impossible. What surprised her most, however, was how much she looked forward to spending time with Ravi. He was quiet, patient, and kind, but there was something deeper in his presence that made her heart feel lighter. They worked side by side in the fields, planting seeds, harvesting vegetables, and feeding the animals. And each day, their conversations grew longer, more personal, and more sincere. One afternoon, Mina sat on the edge of the well, resting after carrying water from the fields. Ravi came over, carrying a basket of fresh vegetables. "You're improving every day," he said softly. "I am proud of your effort." Mina smiled, feeling a small warmth spread in her chest. I I am learning, thanks to you," she admitted. "I never thought I could do this work, but it feels different with your guidance." Ravi nodded. "It is not only about the work, Mina. It is about your heart and mind. You are learning patience, resilience, and care. That is more important than anything else." Mina looked down at her hands, rough and calloused from weeks of work. She realized that they were a symbol of her growth, proof that she was changing, not just on the outside, but on the inside. She felt a quiet pride she had never known before. Over the following days, they spent time together in small, ordinary ways that felt extraordinary to Mina. They repaired fences, cleaned the barn, and worked in the vegetable fields, but they also shared stories about their pasts, their dreams, and their fears. Mina told Ravi about her childhood, her mistakes, and her family's harsh expectations. Ravi listened quietly, never interrupting, never judging. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Ravi and Mina sat together under the shade of a large tree. The sky was painted in soft shades of pink and orange. Mina felt a nervous flutter in her chest as she spoke. "Ravi, I never expected to feel happy here. I thought my life would be full of punishment and hardship. But, somehow, it feels peaceful." Ravi looked at her, his dark eyes calm and gentle. "Peace comes from acceptance, Mina. When we accept life as it is, and ourselves as we are, we can find contentment. You are learning that every day, and it shows." Mina's heart warmed at his words. She realized that she had been afraid for so long, afraid of failure, afraid of judgment, afraid of being alone. But Ravi's presence made her feel safe. She could be herself without fear, and that was a feeling she had never experienced before. As the weeks passed, their bond grew stronger. Mina began to notice small details about Ravi: the way he smiled when he worked, the quiet care he showed to the animals, the patience in his voice, and the kindness in his eyes. She admired him deeply, not for his hidden wealth, but for his character, his choices, and his heart. One day, while they were planting new crops, a sudden rainstorm arrived. The sky darkened, and heavy drops of rain began to fall. Mina panicked, afraid that the young plants would be ruined. Ravi calmly guided her to shelter under a large tree. "Do not worry," he said. "The rain will nourish the plants. Nature has its own balance. We only need to be patient." As they waited under the tree, the rain falling around them, Mina felt a strange closeness to Ravi. She realized that she trusted him completely, not just as a guide, but as someone who cared for her and understood her. A gentle breeze blew, and Mina felt a quiet happiness she had never thought possible. Later, when the rain stopped, they returned to the fields together. Mina noticed how Ravi always worked silently, with purpose and care, never rushing, never complaining. She felt a deep admiration for him, mixed with a growing warmth in her heart. That evening, as they sat outside the small house watching the sunset, Mina spoke softly. "Ravi, I I want to thank you for everything. For teaching me, for being patient, and for showing me a life that I never knew existed. A life I want to be part of." Ravi looked at her with quiet warmth. Mina, it is not I who deserves thanks. It is your courage, your effort, and your willingness to learn. You have grown so much, and that is something to be proud of." Mina smiled, feeling a sense of connection she had never experienced before. She realized that life on the farm was not a punishment, as she had once believed. It was a journey of growth, understanding, and quiet happiness. And in the heart of that journey was Ravi, someone who had become more than a teacher, more than a guide, and slowly, though she did not fully understand it yet, someone she cared for deeply. As the night sky filled with stars, Mina felt a peace she had never known. She understood that life's value was not in wealth, comfort, or appearances, but in the heart, the effort, and the connections we build. And she knew that, with Ravi by her side, her journey was only just beginning. One morning, a carriage approached the farm. Mina was in the fields, gathering vegetables, when she noticed the familiar emblem on the carriage door. Her heart sank. It was her father. She had expected him to check on her eventually, but the sight of him now brought a mix of fear, anger, and nervous anticipation. Ravi noticed her sudden tension. "Is everything all right?" he asked gently. Mina took a deep breath. "My father, he has come to see me," she said quietly. Ravi gave her a reassuring nod. "Then we will face him together. Do not worry." The carriage stopped at the edge of the farm, and Mina's father stepped out, his face a mixture of authority and irritation. He looked around the modest farm, his eyes narrowing as he took in the simple house, the neat fields, and the hard-working animals. "Mina," he called loudly, his voice sharp. "I have come to bring you back. You cannot waste your life here with a poor farmer. You belong in my house, where you will be properly guided." Mina's heart pounded, but something inside her shifted. She remembered the weeks she had spent on the farm, the hard work, the lessons, and the quiet strength she had discovered within herself. She thought of Ravi, patient and kind, who had taught her resilience and self-respect. "I belong here," Mina said firmly, her voice steady. Her father blinked in surprise. "I am not a child who needs to be punished anymore. I have learned things, worked hard, and grown stronger. And I have chosen this life not for punishment, but for myself." Her father's eyes widened in disbelief. "You dare speak to me this way? After everything I have done for you?" Mina took a deep breath, feeling courage rise within her. "You taught me that I was useless and a shame. But Ravi showed me that my worth is not in your eyes, or in appearances, or in wealth. My worth is in my heart, my actions, and my choices. And I choose to stay here." Her father's face reddened, anger and frustration battling with shock. He looked at Ravi, who stood silently, calm and steady. Mina realized how different Ravi's strength was from her father's. It was quiet, unwavering, and filled with dignity, not anger or control. You are defying me," her father said sharply. "I am not defying you," Mina replied firmly. "I am living my life. And I am grateful for the lessons I have learned here. Ravi has shown me patience, respect, and care. And I respect him because of who he is, not because of what he owns." Her father's voice trembled with fury. "How dare you? You are my daughter. You will return with me immediately." Ravi stepped forward, his presence calm yet commanding. "Sir," he said softly but firmly, "Mina is an adult. She has learned, grown, and made her choice. You cannot force her to leave. She has found her strength and independence here. That is her right." Mina felt a surge of gratitude for Ravi. His words gave her courage and reinforced her own voice. She stood taller, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and empowerment. Her father shook his head, still furious but realizing he could not control the situation. After a long pause, he turned to Mina, his eyes filled with a mixture of disappointment and disbelief. "You have changed," he said quietly. I did not expect this." "Yes, Mina said softly. I have changed. And I am proud of it. I am proud of who I am becoming, and I will not let anyone no one control my life again. With that, Mina's father left the farm, still muttering under his breath, but unable to argue further. Mina watched the carriage disappear into the distance, feeling a strange mix of relief and triumph. She had faced her greatest fear, her father's authority, and stood her ground. Turning to Ravi, Mina felt a warmth in her chest. Thank you, she said quietly. For everything. For teaching me, for standing by me, and for showing me that I am stronger than I ever knew. Ravi smiled gently. You had the strength all along, Mina. I only helped you see it. You have grown more than you realize. Mina nodded, tears of gratitude welling in her eyes. She felt a sense of peace and confidence she had never known. The farm, which had seemed like a punishment at first, had become a place of growth, courage, and self-discovery. That evening, as the sun set over the hills, Mina walked through the fields with Ravi. The sky was painted in soft shades of pink and gold, and the cool breeze carried the scent of earth and fresh crops. Mina felt a deep sense of belonging. She realized that life was not about wealth, appearances, or the judgment of others. It was about courage, resilience, and the choices one makes. For the first time, Mina truly felt free. Free from fear, free from judgment, and free to grow, learn, and build a life filled with respect, love, and purpose. And with Ravi by her side, she knew that her journey would continue not as a punishment, but as a path toward happiness, self-discovery, and hope. Mina woke early, as she had done every morning for the past few weeks. But today felt different. The sun rose slowly over the hills, painting the fields in warm gold and orange, and Mina felt a quiet joy in her heart. She no longer feared the work, the sun, or the challenges of the farm. She had grown stronger, wiser, and more confident than she had ever been. Ravi was already in the fields, tending to the vegetables with careful hands. When he saw Mina, he smiled. Good morning, he said softly. Good morning, Mina replied, returning his smile. There was a sense of ease between them now, a bond built on trust, patience, and understanding. She realized how much she had come to admire him, not just for his strength and kindness, but for the quiet wisdom that guided his life. They worked together, side by side, moving through the fields with a rhythm that felt natural and comforting. Mina had learned the names of every plant, the habits of every animal, and the best ways to care for the farm. She was no longer the clumsy, nervous girl who had arrived weeks ago. She was confident, capable, and proud of herself. After the morning work was done, they sat by the small stream near the edge of the farm. Mina dipped her fingers into the cool water, watching it flow over the stones. She felt a sense of peace she had never known. For the first time, life did not feel like a punishment, but like a gift, a chance to grow, to learn, and to find happiness in ways she had never imagined. Ravi, she said quietly, looking at him, I never expected this life. I thought being sent here would be terrible. But, it has been wonderful. I have learned so much, and I feel stronger, braver, and happier than I ever thought I could. Ravi's eyes softened as he looked at her. You have worked hard, Mina. The strength was always inside you. I only helped you see it. You have grown not just in body, but in heart and mind. Mina felt a warm glow in her chest. She realized that she had found more than strength, she had found trust, respect, and a sense of belonging. And slowly, she admitted to herself that she had also found something more, an affection for Ravi that had grown quietly, naturally, and completely. Over the next few days, Mina continued to thrive. She helped Ravi in the fields, cared for the animals, and even started to organize small improvements in the house and farm. She discovered joy in the simple routines, in the sense of accomplishment, and in the quiet companionship of Ravi. One evening, as the sky turned a deep shade of purple and the stars began to appear, Mina and Ravi sat together outside the house. The cool breeze carried the scent of fresh earth and flowers. Mina felt a sense of contentment unlike anything she had ever known. "Ravi," she said softly, "I want to thank you. Not just for teaching me, but for showing me a life I never imagined. A life filled with kindness, patience, and hope." Ravi smiled gently. "You have found it yourself, Mina. You chose to grow, to learn, and to trust. I only walked beside you." Mina looked at him and felt her heart swell. She realized that this farm, this life, and this simple, kind man had become her world. She no longer longed for her past, the golden house, or the wealth she had left behind. Here, she was valued for her heart, her effort, and her spirit. Here, she was truly herself. In the days that followed, Mina and Ravi grew even closer. They worked, laughed, and shared quiet moments together. Mina began to understand that love was not about wealth, appearances, or status. It was about respect, understanding, and shared experiences. And in Ravi, she had found all of that. The villagers, who had once whispered about her arrival, began to notice her transformation. They admired her strength, her dedication, and her gentle spirit. Mina no longer felt their judgment, for she had discovered her own worth, independent of their opinions. One morning, as the sun rose over the hills, Mina stood in the fields, looking at the golden crops swaying in the breeze. She felt a quiet joy, a sense of purpose, and a heart full of gratitude. She realized that her journey had changed her completely. From a girl who had feared life and herself, she had become a young woman who embraced challenges, cherished simple joys, and found happiness in ways she had never imagined. Ravi walked up beside her, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You have grown so much, Mina," he said softly. "And this is only the beginning. Life will continue to bring challenges, but together, we can face anything." Mina smiled, feeling a warmth and certainty she had never known before. "Yes, Ravi," she said. "Together." As they stood in the golden light of the morning, Mina understood that life was no longer about punishment or fear. It was about growth, love, and the courage to choose one's own path. And in the quiet, simple beauty of the farm, she had found all of that and more. For the first time in her life, Mina felt truly free. Free to be herself, free to work, to learn, to love, and to live fully. And with Ravi by her side, she knew that her life would continue to grow, bloom, and flourish just like the fields she now tended with her own hands. Mina smiled as the sun rose higher, feeling the warmth on her face and the steady rhythm of life all around her. She had found her place, her strength, and her happiness. And she knew that this was not the end of her story, it was a beautiful new beginning.